Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Sam Welby. Finally made it. Welcome to Hockey Talk. So glad to have you all here. Much appreciated that you hung in while we got this started. It is the first episode glitches, always happens, but again, thank you all for hanging in as we got through some of these technical issues. But we are here. We are coming at you live from the studio for Hockey Talk with me, Sam Welby, and let's jump right into it. So I'm very excited that this hockey season is just around the corner. I can't believe it's been such a long year. It's been such a crazy year with empty stadiums to quarter full stadiums. And I think now, at least up in our neck of the woods in Toronto, we are going to have 50% capacity, which is awesome. So, again, welcome to the show. Hello, friends. Hello, Leaf Nation. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Make sure you do hit that like button. Make sure you do hit the subscription button so you can join us week after week as we go through and talk about hockey, our beloved game, and of course, our Toronto Maple Leafs. If you're not from Toronto or you're not a Leaf fan, that is okay. We will have lots to talk about. I know some of you in the chat that have come in from time to time are Bruins fans, which I'm not going to hold it against you, but we may exchange some words at some point. We got some Sabres fans, which is great because the Sabres have a great young team. They're up and coming. We have lots of people from all over the globe watching, so we are going to talk every team under the sun. But for today, because preseason is kicking off in a couple of hours, we are going to talk our Maple Leafs. So it has been a crazy year, like I said off the top. We have seen a lot of people come and go. Our beloved goalie, Freddie Anderson, bye-bye. My boy, Zach Hyman, off to Edmonton. That still hurts. That still hurts. Malgin and Thornton, Galchenyuk, short stay. Bogosian, Nash, Foligno, Marinson, McCain, who was a surprise. I don't think anyone saw that coming. I think a lot of people thought Kerfoot was going to go to Seattle, but McCain got picked up, which was a shocker. Patan, who I don't think really got a fair chance, but with the roster we had, it was so tough. Hutton and Rittich. But coming in, some interesting pickups. We have Nick Ritchie coming in, Peter Mrazek, who I'm gonna hold back. I've had my thoughts about Peter Mrazek in the past, but I've had him in some hockey pools and didn't really fare too well. But I'm gonna give him a chance. We got Kempf and Case, Gabriel and Bunting, Manel, Amandio, Goligov, and of course, the two interesting PTOs, the professional tryouts we've picked up, and Josh Hosang. And Hosang, he was a top prospect. This guy was supposed to be one of the top players, top rookies coming in the NHL. Had a great kind of minor campaign, but plagued with some attitude issues, not great in the locker room. The real young kid attitude, making it to the big time. So hopefully he's turned that all around. And of course, Gusev, who definitely has some potential. So there have been a lot of changes, right? The roster looks very different. And we're not really sure how a lot of these kids are going to look when we really jump in and see what things are going to look like when the games begin. And so a lot of you've probably looked up and down the roster. You've paid attention to a lot of the moves that have been made and things that have been going. So why don't we take a minute and kind of look and see what the roster is actually looking like. And I know it's a little small, so I'm gonna bring it up on my phone here. Abramov, and I'm gonna butcher a lot of these names, just as you all would. So if you want to laugh, go ahead. But we all know some of these names are not the easiest off the tongue. But Abramov, Amendo, Joey Anderson. Joey Anderson, I think, has a lot of potential. Adam Brooks, who I really hope he doesn't end up the odd man out. We saw a lot of opportunity from him last year when he stepped up, and in the minor leagues, he's looked great. So Adam Brooks is going to be one to watch, who I hope he does kind of get some playing time. Michael Bunting, some big expectations from him. Rich Clune probably will end up back with the Marlies, but that's okay. Um, Semyon, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his full name. We got Douglas Curtis, Pierre Engvall still kicking around, Curtis Gabriel, Pavel Gogolov, Nikita Gusev, and Hosang, who we talked about. Kempf, a lot of people are excited to see what David Kempf brings to the table. It'll be really interesting. Andre Case, of course, we got Kerfoot, Marner, Matthews, Mikheyev, and a lot of interesting talk about Mikheyev over the last little while. It came out just recently in an article that he had requested a trade at the end of last year. Now, all the media has been asking him, did you request a trade? What's going on? They want the inside scoop, and he's playing it pretty cool. He's telling people, he's here to play, he wants to play, and you know what? Good for him. He's such a young talent. He had a really tough go last year. First of all, he had the injury before coming back, wasn't the same, ended up kind of bottom end of the roster, never really had a chance to shine. I think this is going to be easier. I hope he makes an impact, and I really hope that he does have the ability to stick around with the club. I'm a big Mikheyev fan. I certainly, I'm a card collector, and I was a big Mikheyev guy. When his cards came out, I wanted to make sure I was on that, and I definitely had some of his. Of course, William Nylander, who, we've all in Leaf Nation, we've been up and down. We've had some things to say, some things not to say. But when push comes to shove, Nylander has definitely, come to play, and he's proven that, that he has done his thing, and he has made a difference. So we're hoping that, he has a great year and can continue to shine like we know that Nylander can. As well, going down the roster, another guy who I'm really excited to see in Nick Ritchie. Really great to see Ritchie come, and I think he's going to have a solid impact. Nick Robertson. I think we're all excited to see Nick Robertson. His brother Jason Robertson has been unbelievable. So hopefully he can really pick up and perform, the way everyone expects him to. And he's a guy, when you hear him in interviews, he goes full tilt, right? He really wants to make a difference, and I'm hoping this is his year. Krim Simarov, Bretzini, Wayne Simmons, of course, the Toronto boy. I'll be honest, I don't think he had a huge impact last year, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's going to, he's here to play this year. Of course, Jason Spezza, who, I'm going to say it, I loved him when he was with the Senators. I was a huge Spezza fan. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him kind of when he was in junior. There's a long story, and we'll talk about that for another hockey talk down the road. But Jason Spezza, great guy, great leader, great player. And you got Steves and Tavares to round out our forward lineup. And Tavares is back. He is healthy, he's clear, he's passed all of his tests, so he is ready to play. On the defensive side, Alex Biega, TJ Brody, who, Broads, come on, he's going to have a better year. I don't think he was great last year, he was good, but he'll step it up. Carl Dahlstrom, Travis Dermott, who I'm a big Dermott fan, Duzak, Matthew Hillickson, Justin Hall, Mac Hallwell, Timu Kvit, can't even pronounce that name. Flip Krull, Timothy Lindgren, who I hope gets a good break this year, gets an opportunity to shine. Brennan Manel, Jake Muzzin, another guy that was a tough loss in the playoffs. Morgan Riley's back, which Riley's an interesting case, right? Contracts coming up. Do we have the room? I mean, we don't have the room to keep him. Do we make a move during the year to free up some cap space so we can sign him back? Do we risk letting him go to free agency? We'll have to see how that story plays out. It's definitely going to be an interesting one. Rubens, Rasmus Sandin, and William Villeneuve. And just a breaking story about an hour or so ago, William Villeneuve was signed. We just signed him to a 3-year entry-level contract, which takes him through the 23-24 season. He's a little boy. Well, not really a little boy, a little guy, 19 years old. Played in a couple games with the Marlies last year. He was selected in the fourth round, 122nd overall in the 2020 NHL entry draft. And in 152 career games in the QMJHL, he had 13 goals and 84 assists. So 97 points in 152 games. Pretty good for a defenseman. So again, young, he's going to take time to develop. I don't want to put any pressure on the kid, but definitely has some potential. Now, on the goaltending side, this is where it gets a little interesting. So we know on the back end, Michael Hutchinson, Scott Ian, Calgren and Joseph Wall. Most of those guys are going to end up with the Marlies and in the minors and doing their thing, which is great. And it leaves us with Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek up front. So I'm anticipating that Mrazek and Campbell are probably going to go split squad. Not really sure who's going to take most of the games, but it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. And we know Freddie Anderson did not have a stellar year last year. When he was good, he was really good. When he was off, it was not so good. So it'll be really interesting to see how the goaltending angle shakes up. So if you're a casual hockey fan and you're looking at this list of names, you say, okay, I know Nylander, I know Matthews, I know Marner, I know Tavares, and that probably rounds out, who you know on this list. So it's going to be a real challenge, from a casual fan standpoint to start learning some of these names and getting in and understanding and seeing the potential. I know when I first looked at this list and was going down some of these names, I was like, oh boy. Now, being in a hockey pool and a keeper pool for so many years, you start to understand and know some of the young kids that are coming up. So there's some potential. So it'll be really interesting to see how these guys handle themselves and how they play. So let me just take a few minutes outside of hockey. I want to say hello to everybody who's joined us, who's in the chat. Coaster Mom, great to see you. Miss Breezer from the other side of the pond, great to have you here. Carla, Dina, Lisa T, so great to see you finally catch me live. That's awesome. Let's scroll back. Who else have we missed here? I don't want to miss any names, but so great to have you guys all with us today. So let's go forward and talk. We talked roster, and we know the game is tonight. There have been so many reports on what these lineups are going to look like. So let's take a quick peek in and see what these lineups could look like. One of the reports that have come out talked about bunting with Tavares and Ho-Sang. This will be an interesting lineup. Mikheyev, Kerfoot, and Nylander. That is a tremendous amount of speed on that line. If that is indeed the line in tonight's game, holy moly, watch out. With Mikheyev and Nylander's hands, these guys can skate, they can shoot the puck. And Kerfoot, he's not to be messed with too. He's, right down the ice to the net, and he'll probably pick up some of the dirty goals. But that's a really solid line. An interesting line with Robertson, Amio, and Spezza. So this is a great opportunity for Spezza, the kind of old vet on the team, to really coach and teach and work with Robertson. And I've heard that they've actually been spending a lot of time together. And Spezza has been just coaching him along, telling him to kind of let go, relax, don't squeeze the stick too tight, do your thing. Clune with SDA, Gabriel, or Cini. It'll be interesting to see how that fourth line kind of works out. I think all of those guys, it's more just an observation. On the defense side, you got the veterans with some of the young guys, Muzzin, Lindgren, Sandin and Brody, Kralbiega, and then Hellickson and Hallwell. So it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic form and those guys work well together. Kind of stopping the pucks. I assume they're going to do split game. Hutchinson will get the start, followed by Scott. Now, I've heard many different reports. This is kind of the general, what we're seeing the lines to be. What we're thinking the lines may look like come a little bit closer to the season and how it plays out. Matthews still recovering from that wrist injury. When he's actually going to get into the games and start, taking contact and working. We'll have to see. I haven't seen anything that definitively said a timetable. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be next week, but we'll see. But when the season starts, I think what we're anticipating seeing is Nick Ritchie on the wing with Matthews and Marner, which is pretty good first line. We know Matthews and Marner has that chemistry. We know what they can do together. It'll be interesting to see how Ritchie falls in there. A little bit of grit, a little bit of toughness, a little bit of grinder, but someone good to kind of sit in front of the net and create havoc. Tavares with Bunting and Nylander, same type of concept. Nylander, great skill. Tavares, great skill. Bunting, we'll see what he brings, but he'll probably be that same guy that causes some havoc in front of the net. When we get down to Mikheyev, Kerfoot, and Case, interesting combination. Mikheyev and Kerfoot, I think, they had some chemistry last year. They were starting to develop and definitely a lot of potential. So it'll be quite interesting to see how those two continue to build that dynamic and develop and enhance and grow together. And then the fourth line, Simmons, Kemp, and Spezza. I don't think anyone was expecting a whole lot out of our fourth lines this year. Will probably change a lot, but definitely, a solid top to bottom lineup. The top six can be interchanged, definitely has some strong potential. Bottom six, a lot of skill and grit there. So it'll be quite a journey to see how these guys come together. Again, a very different squad than what we put on the ice last year. So we'll see how these guys all come together. Now, what does it look like on the D side? What we're probably anticipating seeing, Riley and Brody together just makes sense. Muzzin and Hall, I think they played a lot of time together last year. And then Sandin and Dermott. Now, you could definitely move these around any which way. What makes me a little bit nervous, and maybe you guys too, Sandin and Dermott, both young kids, both like to carry the puck, both like to take it. It'll be interesting to see how these guys remember to stay back. One guy rush, the other guy stay back. But it'll be really cool to see how this roster comes together. So when we go back to the moves that happened in this offseason and a lot of the changes, it's kind of worrisome at first when you look at it and you see a lot of these big names moving on and a lot of these, I don't want to call them unknowns, but a lot of less known players kind of coming in. But when you do break it down and you look line by line and you look player by player, and I know I've said potential a tremendous amount today, but there is a lot of potential. And now we've gone several seasons, in Leafs Nation, who's watching, I don't have to tell you this twice. It's been a rough few years. Get to the playoffs, have a pretty sad elimination from the playoffs. With a lot of these moves that have happened, I think a lot of people were afraid, is this a team that can even make the playoffs? When Tampa gets stronger, Boston gets stronger, everybody around us is getting stronger. Are we going to be able to cut it? And I really believe that this team is a good team to the core. I believe in the coach. Keefe has proven that he can do the job that he needs to do. He gets through to these players. He's got some great veteran leadership to assist with that. And I really think that there's strong opportunity that these guys can make a difference. They can get to the first round, sure. Can they get to the second round? On paper, the numbers are there. It looks like it. So I know I'm hoping for. I know I'm going to cheer every game along the way. So it's really exciting. So let's go to the chat. Let me take a look through. Let's see what's everybody talking about. I've watched ice hockey. I hope you're selling the Maple Leafs well. Thank you. I've been a Maple Leaf fan forever. I had a small stint when I was an Ottawa Senators fan, and I think I was just really frustrated with the Leafs. And I was again, big Spezza fan. I was a big Daniel Alfredson fan. I really enjoyed seeing what they were doing. Remember the game when Ottawa was playing the Leafs and Sundin, Matt Sundin, one of the greatest captains of all time, threw his stick in the air over the glass into the crowd, like some crazy, crazy moments. Um, but Leafs are always my number one. My number two, and I haven't talked about them yet today, and we're going to talk about them in later weeks. The Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers are, now my number two. And hey, Max, welcome to the chat. The Florida Panthers have been a tough team, right? A tough team to watch up until last year. They made a lot of moves. They made a great push, a great series against Tampa Bay, but Tampa, I don't know. In my eyes, I call what Tampa did cheating. I get it. Kucherov was hurt. He was out most of the year. He was healthy, could have come back the last couple weeks, but they didn't have the cap space. But because in the playoffs, there is no cap, they were able to bring him in. Hey, Shauna, welcome to the chat. Welcome to Hockey Talk. They brought him in for the playoffs. They run the table. They win the cup. Listen, all hats off. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I think you did it dirty. I was not a big fan of that move. But hey, I'm sure every other team would do the exact same thing if they were in that position to do so. But this year, Florida Panthers, they made some moves of their own. They're looking pretty good. So we're going to break down the Panthers a little bit later on. Got to see how they're doing in the preseason a little bit. One thing that really excites me in having hockey come back is who's on top right now. Well, it's just starting, Miss Breezer. Preseason is actually kicking off. And thank you, Max. It's kicking off tonight. 7 p.m. Eastern time is the game time. Toronto and Montreal, going to be amazing. Can't wait. I'm hoping Toronto's going to pull it off. But it's preseason, right? So right now we're just warming up. We're just getting ready. It really doesn't matter what happens. We're just here to cheer them on, see these young kids develop, and get ready for the real thing, which starts, I think, in 2 weeks when the actual season kicks off. Now, one of the things I didn't want to get into too much today, but I think we have to make note of it, and it's definitely something we need to mention, and that really is about Austin Matthews. So we know Austin Matthews is one of the greatest players in the league right now. Him, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon. There's a handful. Crosby, Ovechkin, of course. When you talk about Austin Matthews and his contract situation, I think we got him another 2 or 3 years. And it's going to be really tough because he's going to want big dollars, and rightly so. Greatest player in the league, or one of, deserves top dollar. And the big rumor is, the Arizona Coyotes, and Austin Matthews is from Phoenix, Arizona area. If you look at their roster and their salary cap situation, they have like 3 players signed through to that year when Matthews' deal is up. So they're going to have all the money and all the room in the world, salary cap wise, to make a deal and bring him in. So the way I figure it, the Leafs are on the clock. We only have a couple years. We've invested heavily in Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander. And we're trying to build a core around them when those 4 make up the majority of our salary cap. So this year is going to be a tall tale year. If we can get in the playoffs, and we can go far in the playoffs, and it's pretty obvious we're only a piece or 2 away, there's a chance. But if this year goes horribly wrong and things just do not work out, then it's going to be rebuilding, in my opinion, what I feel. If we don't really succeed this year, Dubas's GM will probably be gone. If Shanahan remains as president, he's going to have to make some moves and really retool this team because we can't, be competitive when the majority of our salary is tied up with 4 players. But hey, let's hope I'm wrong. Let's hope these 4 guys, with the surrounding cast that they have, are superstars, and they take it to the next level, and they give us a good run. So everything that we know about our Leafs, everything we've grown to love, the excitement, the passion, the speed, the hard hitting, it's there this year. We brought in some toughness. We have some grinders. Losing Zach Hyman is definitely going to hurt. That is going to be a challenge for sure. Zach Hyman was, I don't want to call him the lifeblood of the team, but to me, he was the guy who held so much together. When the chips were down, he was in there grinding it out, putting the effort in so many games. He created that spark to really bring everyone back. He's gone now. We have the speed we've always had. Sometimes it's a little too much speed. Or sometimes when you get a tough team and they're playing that trap, you're going up the middle and they just stand up like a wall. Speed doesn't help. Having the toughness and the grinders, a lot of that has been lacking from years to come or years ago. But we have some of that brought back. We have some of that toughness now. And I think that toughness is going to make a huge deal. A huge deal. It's really going to help grind it out. Hey, Sean, welcome. Glad you could make it in. I mean, if we go back and look at those forward lines again, Bunting, Ritchie, some true toughness, with Simmons and Kempf, guys that can hold their own. And if we need to move people around, if we need to shuffle our roster on the fly, if Keefe says, okay, Matthews and Marner, we got to switch you up. Maybe put Nylander with Matthews, Marner back with Tavares. If we're down by a couple of goals and we need to create that spark, nothing says, hey, we can't move Spezza up with Matthews. There's so many potential combinations that we could do here. If we're playing another young team that's all about the run and gun, nothing says, hey, we can't move, Mikheyev and put him with Matthews and Marner or with Tavares and Nylander. They did that a lot actually last year with Mikheyev, Tavares, and Nylander. Again, some strong potential. If Mikheyev is a little bit stronger, a little bit bulkier, can hold his own, there's so much potential. And I think that's the word of the day. If I would have programmed it in to flash on the screen, potential, 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 going into this preseason, there is so much potential here. And I know the names don't say it. I know when you look at, our full roster, we don't know a lot of these names. But when you look at what they've done in other places, whether it's other teams or in the minors, there's so much potential. So it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort. Another key word that you'll probably hear me say all the time, effort. And I know my boys watching upstairs are sitting there going, Dad, not the E word. Don't use the E word. I'm using it. It's going to take effort from the boys in blue to work hard, work as a team, and rely on each other. It's going to take effort from the coaching staff to have patience. This is a brand new squad. We're going to have to let them find their way. It's going to take effort for us, the fans, who have sat through many years of heartbreak, of almost getting there, getting to the playoffs, squeezing in, and then losing in horrible fashion. It's going to take effort from everyone to support, to enjoy, to cheer. But most importantly, and the one rule whenever I've been coaching hockey or whenever I've, talked to kids about hockey, the one thing we need to make sure we all do is have fun with hockey. Hockey is fun. Yes, it can be violent. Yes, it could be action-packed. It could be suspenseful. It can keep you on the edge of your seat. It can make you sick to your stomach. But hockey has to be fun. And as a fan, I've always found it to be fun. It's always been exciting. Sometimes I get crazy when I hear the media talk about this player or that player, and me too, screaming at the TV. And I'm sure you guys have all done it, whether it's hockey or football or baseball or you name it. Even if you're just watching Young and the Restless, you're screaming at, watch out for the bad guy, or watch out for this guy, or come on, look behind you. It's the same when watching hockey. Silly offsides. Why'd you ice the puck in that situation? Shoot the puck. Stop passing the puck. It's all part of the fun of the game. Now, everybody enjoys it differently. I'm one of these guys, a little superstitious in a close game. And the boss upstairs, she will definitely tell you, when things are happening, don't move. You sit in your couch, you find your seat, you don't move, especially in the third period in a close game. If there's a chance and you have momentum, you stay put. You watch. You wait, maybe the commercials, you stretch, you do what you have to do, and then you get back in the seat. But you definitely don't stand up in the middle of the period, in the middle of the game. You don't switch your leg positions. You don't go get a sip of water. Then you change the whole atmospheric pressure, and you could cost us the game. And you're all thinking I'm nuts. But you know what? That's why I love hockey. That's why I love having fun and seeing it. I've been very lucky to spend a lot of time at the Air Canada Centre, or I guess it's now the Scotiabank Arena, and even before at Maple Leaf Gardens, and get to be there. And when you have 15,000, 18,000, 20,000 people all yelling at the same time for the same thing, there's nothing like it. You may have learned the hard way. Yeah, I'm sorry. You see, that's right. We were in the game. She got up to change the thermostat, and I lost my mind. You can't change the thermostat in the middle of the game. You make sure you pee. You have all your snacks ready. That's what commercial breaks are for. If there's a commercial break, you do your business. You have your sip or your snack. But in all seriousness, I want to thank everybody so much for giving me the time to come in and sit and listen to me talk through hockey. What we're going to do with this on Saturday nights is typically this is going to follow the early game. So I'm hoping the Leafs have most of the early games. Probably, if there's 7 or 7:30 starts, they're going to end around 9:30, 9:45. So we'll probably look at going on about 10 o'clock Eastern, maybe for about half an hour or so, just to kind of recap, the game, the week that was, talk about some of the other teams, maybe bring in some special guests. But we're here ultimately just to have fun and love our teams in our games. So I'm excited. We're now a couple hours away from kickoff. We got to go make sure to have a good dinner, fill those bellies because we don't want to get up during the game. So I'm going to take this time, just again, real quick, to say thank you guys so much, as always, for your support. Please feel free, if you have any questions about the Leafs, about the Panthers, hockey in general, leave a comment after the video. Comment all you want. I'd be happy to answer your questions, chat with you. Thanks, Miss Breezer. I'm glad you did find it interesting. I know we're going to be really late for you, but thank you. And like I said, leave a comment. We'll definitely talk more hockey as we go. So make sure you all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday afternoon. Get ready for your Saturday evening game. And make sure you get comfortable. That's right. You tell her, Miss Breezer. That's awesome. Really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you next Saturday, late. Again, these will be quite short, but do make sure to tune in Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. We are going to continue doing our retro stream, where this week we are going to be looking at Star Wars and taking a deep dive into kind of vintage and retro Star Wars, toys, movies, everything, you name it. We're going to talk about it. Then we have on Saturday, we'll be Hockey Talk again. And the following Tuesday for the next retro show, we'll be getting into music. So that will be one you don't want to miss. So we'll have lots of stories. For next week's Hockey Talk, like I said, we're going to talk about the week that's been. We're going to talk about the games. I'm going to tell you some of my stories, some engagements I've had when I've met some players, stories that have come up with that. And we're just going to hang out and have a good time. So do me a favor, again, one more time, if you haven't already, hit that like button. Please do subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this back in repeat and the replay, make sure you hit that subscription. Help us continue to grow. We look forward to talking with you soon. And I will say thank you all so much. And we'll see you real soon.